Bet on Bears fans, another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Pat the designer, Shea Norling in the building. And we're going to talk some football, but first we got to address something that just a shot across the bow.
What?
My guy, you sent me just sailing with the false fade.
The dog thing?
Just on the radio. How many people?
All right.
Hey, hold on. EO, how many people listen daily on ESPN 1000? How many people do we get?
Tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands.
Yes.
Tens of thousands of people had you, Hoodie, who, geez, Hoodie, just I thought that was you were my guy, and Abdallah, who didn't listen but wanted to be in on it.
It was great.
Just basically saying that I said I would shoot my dog for a Bears championship, and I did not say this.
Hand up.
I did not, and I posted it, and of course the post doesn't go viral like your take does. My guy.
Hand up. I misremembered the conversation that we had. I distinctly remembered, and clearly this was a Mandela effect kind of deal. I distinctly remembered you saying, would you put your dog down for a championship? And I said, fuck no. Yes. Are you insane?
Yes.
And I remembered you saying, I put my dog down.
I feel like that was, you went there just naturally.
Mandela effect. A total hand up, my bad moment. I hope that this hasn't impacted your fine standing in the community.
Well, listen, I don't want my kids involved on this, but
listen, buddy, you're good. I'm going to say this. You're good. All right.
That may not make it through the edit. I'm not going to lie, but that was a good joke.
No, it's fine, brother, because I'm going to take it further. The mousetrap that someone in this town stepped in totally erased any thought anyone had. Like, if you hadn't even brought up that I had said it, I don't think people would have remembered. Apparently,
no, all the people that want to hate me and need something to hate me about, that was all the tweets I was getting.
That's fine.
It is what it is.
You'll never win with those people anyway. I just gave them fake ammo.
Yeah,
hey, me, when I spread misinformation on the internet, like, that's all this is. But apparently people care very deeply about a certain species of fish. And listen, you should catch and release. That's my advice to everybody.
My advice on everything.
Yeah. Oh, here's another one that would apply to the same person. If you have trolls in your Twitter replies, catch and release. You don't need to feed the trolls.
That's where I was going.
You only make yourself look worse.
Yeah, it was tough. That was tough.
I don't want my kids involved either, to be clear. I don't have kids. Joke's on you. But I don't want them involved.
Well, it turned into Taken so quickly. It was like, what just happened here?
No, it was
about a fish.
It was bizarre. It was bizarre.
I did upload this. Now, this is a real email that was sent to me. Now, I don't know the validity of this email, but it's in the overlays, EO. There's a real email that was sent to me. I'm assuming possibly not real, but I got such a kick out of it, I had to bring it here to the podcast.
Oh boy!
I screenshot it. Can you put it up there? Or is it?
I don't see it in the overlay at all.
Maybe in the media asset.
What have you done? Here's an idea. You have a phone, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you get the phone out, pull up the email, and read it to the people?
This is true. I was gonna put it on the screen.
We could do that.
I was gonna put it on the screen, but
listen, production elements are wonderful, but we tape this live. Things happen.
Live. Send it to me, and I'll add it, and you'll see it right now.
Yeah, there we go. We added it in the edit.
Boom.
Look at the power of post-production.
Power of post-production. I love it. Here it is. Urgent. Concerning your recent comments about animal harm.
Look what I've done.
Dear Mr. in quotes, Pat the designer.
They put Mr. in quotes?
No, Mr. and Pat the designer's in quotes.
I thought that
Mr. would have been tough.
Mr. in quotes would have been bars. That would have been a hell of a way to start this.
It has come to our attention that during a recent broadcast, you made an alarming statement suggesting
actually PETA
that you would shoot your dog for a Bears championship.
Dude, why are you not just beating the shit out of me? Like, honestly, you are within your rights to just beat the shit out of me and make that be the podcast today.
while we understand the depth and of dedication that sports fans have for their team, such rhetoric is not only deeply troubling, but also a direct violation of the ethical principles that guide humane treatment of animals. At PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals,
Oh my God.
we take all threats against animals, joking or otherwise, very seriously. As such, we have begun preliminary steps to assess the welfare of any pets currently in your custody.
Oh my God.
We are actively consulting with legal professionals to explore avenues to have your dogs removed from your home and placed in a non-Bears affiliated, this is where I think it's a joke, Bears affiliated environment where they can be safe from your championship related impulses.
Okay.
This is when I started going through
Was it an
this,
official PETA email that was sent to you?
the email address.
I feel bad now, dude. Like, I'm sorry. I'm going to put this out there. Pat will not shoot his dog for a title. That is not a thing that will happen. It's also a ridiculous hypothetical that's impossible to fulfill. Everybody take a deep breath. Holy mercy. Everybody relax.
When I saw that hit the now again, I'm pretty sure this is a joke and this is not serious. This is sincerely from, and we'll have the full email on there. Hold on, what was the name on there?
Don't dox anyone.
If this is a real person, she deserves it. Karen M. Furrytail.
Oh yeah,
You know
that's
what I
for
mean?
sure fake. Yeah,
What?
for sure fake.
But when I saw PETA come across the docket, I was like, I'm gonna kill Shea.
Using Karen is where they swung and missed. To be honest, that's the one spot they swung and missed.
What a high level troll. The
That was
whole
great.
Oh,
PETA
yeah.
Emil Bears shot at the end. Amazing.
Yeah, it
was
great.
Amazing.
This is all a lesson in the danger of fake news. All right.
Let's try and talk about some real news here. Before we do have to tell you guys that the Chicago Bears podcast is brought to you by Advantage Dealer Group. Find your next Chevy, Toyota, or Acura and drive off in under 60 minutes, or they'll make your first car payment. It's also brought to you by the Hard Rock Casino in Northern Indiana, located 30 minutes from Soldier Field, I-80-94, exit 6. All right, Shea, so free agency for the most part has kind of come to a resounding calm here. Seems like the big names are kind of off of the board. Doubt the Bears are going to go make any more moves here, maybe some small signings here or there to fix things out, but the big moves are made. When you talk about the names that have been brought in, what is your big reaction to the free agents that the Chicago Bears have signed here?
I know I'm overreaction guy. I feel like it's a cop-out if I say I don't really have one. Can I just call it a regular reaction? Is that acceptable?
Well,
Eric, you tell me, is that acceptable?
I'll say this. That might be the overreaction, that this is just a regular, it is what it is kind of offseason.
Well, I think it's, go ahead.
God damn it, Shea. Respond to the email saying I don't have a take then. When I drop the topics on overreactions, I don't reaction.
Listen, here's the way I'll put it.
Lie to you. This is a beat up on Shea Day today.
Yeah, hey, again, I deserve it. I said if you wanted to just beat me to a pulp and make that the pod, one, I think people would love it. And two, I would be accepting. I think I deserve it. No, look, if you're asking for my reaction, I think the Dalman signing's an A+.
Mm-hmm.
The Tooney stuff, I think, is great, but he's old. You're going to commit some money to him, likely an extension. Yes, it will lower the cap hit this year, but they're in a really good place in 2026 right now where they could have $90 million, depending on certain releases that could happen going into 2026. That doesn't matter, but the Tooney thing will hurt that a little bit. I'm still questioning, like, Jonah Jackson playing right guard. One, he wasn't healthy last year. Two, he hasn't played much right guard really since he was at Rutgers in college. So I don't know how much the offensive line is actually fixed. Like, I think the overreaction would be if I came in and just said, O-line's fixed, let's go. We're winning 10 games. We're contending in the division. I'm not doing any of that because I don't know that the O-line's fixed. I know it's better. I know it's different. I don't know that it's fixed. Grady Jarrett, defensive tackle, good player, declining player, old player. Dayo Odeyingbo. That does not solve the pressure issue. Here's my overreaction. If anybody looks at what they did on the defensive line and tries to tell me that you can afford to skip on an edge or a defensive tackle in the first round of the draft, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Here's the fun fact. You signed 2 players on your defensive line. You still do not have a player on this team who was top 30 in pressures in the NFL last year. You added 2 guys. You haven't added one that was top 30 in pressures. You didn't have one last year. So don't go into this feeling like, oh, we're all good now. Defensive line solved. No, if you have a shot at Mason Graham, you take it. If you have a shot at one of the premium edge rushers, a James Pierce, a Shamar Stewart, a Nick Scourton, you take it. You're not done.
Yeah.
And the idea that Bears fans now, I keep seeing, well, we're good up front. We can take Ashton Genty. No, you cannot overinvest on your defensive line. And the fact that you still don't have anyone in the top 50 in pressures, it's not acceptable. This isn't the end point. This is good building blocks, but that's it.
Yeah.
I'm not writing an A+ for anything. I'm not writing an A. We are at a solid B for the offseason so far. That's it. That's my
offseason.
And if you want to say it's an overreaction, that's my overreaction. Grade right now, solid B. Good work. It ain't done.
For just the players or for the offseason as a whole?
Oh, I mean, the head coach is the guy you wanted, but again, you have to see this be on the field.
Yeah.
I think Ben Johnson was the best head coach available, but that doesn't mean anything. I thought Frank Reich was the best head coach available once upon a time. Like, these guys can get the job and suck. It's not impossible. It's all a crapshoot.
Frank Reich got screwed, though.
No, I'm even talking before them.
Frank Reich showed up, and Andrew Luck was like, I'm out.
Okay, so we're on the same page. Yeah, Colts, it definitely got screwed in Carolina. But you get my point.
Yeah,
because we think somebody's great, people thought Nagy was great. He was terrible.
Yeah.
So I'm not ready to say A+, you did it. I can like all of the moves and still have reservations, and that's where I'm at.
Yeah. My overreaction on the Bears free agency is I think the name that people care about the least is the one that probably will do the best. That's Dayo Odeyingbo. When I look at someone who, and I get what you're saying, he's not top 30 in pressures. When somebody's consistently hitting the quarterback, whether for sacks or not, it's affecting the quarterback. I think that will help Montez Sweat. When somebody is consistently creating different kinds of opportunities for the DBs by forcing turnovers, by getting to the quarterback and making him, have to make a tough decision. And now all of a sudden you have Jalen Johnson running the other way. I think we're going to say Dayo Odeyingbo's name more than Bears fans expect. I think he's going to be one of those pieces who, am I going to sit here and tell you he's going to be a 12.5 sack guy? No, I'm not. I think that has to be Montez Sweat, no matter the situation. But do I think that he can get back to that 7-8 sacks in a season type of guy who's constantly forcing quarterbacks to do that? Yeah, when you have a pass rush win rate above 15% in certain games, when your average on the season is 13%, like, those are the things that get me excited. The guys that do the stuff that doesn't show up on paper, play in and play out, down in and down out, that's the stuff that I think proves real on a football field more times than just guys who have high sack numbers, which is why I think you see Leonard Floyd continuing to float around to every team every single year.
Yeah, I'm a big pressures over sacks. I'm a big quarterback hits over sacks. So I want to play a game with you. Little player A, player B. You ready?
Let's do it.
Player A. Hold on. Let me get this set up so that I have it right. Player A in 2024 had 39 pressures, 4 sacks, 12 hits, and 23 hurries.
Okay,
good?
Yep.
39 pressures, 4 sacks, 12 hits, 23 hurries.
Yep.
Player B had 42 pressures, 4 sacks, 13 hits, 25 hurries. About the same. Got a guess on who player A and player B are?
Player B is Dayo.
Player B is Dayo.
Player A, D Walk.
Player A is DeMarcus Walker.
Yeah, that's why I figured you were going there.
I think you got higher price tag DeMarcus Walker. And you could be right. He could get here and find a little bit of revitalized play, but relying on Dayo to be the answer across from Montez Sweat, is not the blueprint. For me.
I don't think you do that either. I think you brought in a veteran presence who is somebody that's going to do the baseline things and maybe that fits what Dennis Allen wants to do a little bit more than D-Walk does. I agree with you. If you got a shot at James Pierce later on in this draft, because I don't know what he's doing. Is he falling? Is he rising? Like, every mock draft seems to have James Pierce in like
he's going to be
completely different world.
He's going to be in the teens.
That's what I thought. That's kind of where I feel there. If the Bears could trade back and get a piece like that, I wouldn't be mad at it. If you tell me that he is only concern about James Pierce, I will say is he a little Leonard Floydish. Get a little Leonard Floyd vibes off of him off of that last season. Not always the guy, but may make the play for the guy. So always the other guy that's on the team. Do you want to take a guy like that high? Right? Leonard Floyd's 10.5 sacks. That's nothing to scoff at. But Leonard Floyd is 10.5 sacks when somebody else is better on the team usually. I feel like he's always the one that's causing the guy to get the sack.
I haven't finished the tape stuff on James Pierce. Yeah. I've started it. I'm doing the scouting report on Captain Shea this week for James Pierce Jr. I mocked him to the Bears in a trade down situation at 16 today on the morning show. I'm kind of baffled by the conversation around him, which seems entirely off the field, which is always hearsay. Like, you can tell me, well, the players in the locker room are glad he's gone. Okay. What does that mean to me? He's a pro. Like, I don't care. Yeah. I don't care if some kid some redshirt freshman on Tennessee is like, thank God he's out of the way. Doesn't matter to me. He had 10 sacks 2 years ago.
Yep.
That's an incredible season in college. And he answered that with a 7.5 sack season that somehow got sold as a disappointment. All he's done in his career in college is be productive as an edge rusher.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, there's character issues. You can't draft.
I don't care about.
I don't care. Can he play ball?
The one thing that I've seen when I watch his tape consistently, the pressures are always there. The elusive quarterbacks, like you see in the NFL quite a bit, the CJ Strouds, the Jaden Daniels, guys like that, have a tendency to be able to make one move and get away. Now, is that something that could be that's where coaching comes in? If you're telling me my baseline in the last 2 years is 17.5 sacks and a guy who consistently can use his speed to get around the edge, all right, Dennis Allen, let me see what you're made of. You know what I mean? I'm not out on James Pierce at all. I do wonder though if it is if you look at it as a little bit of maybe you're taking him too high because of what he did 2 seasons ago versus what you saw this season, which, like you said, was not a bad season. But either way, I agree with you when talking about overreactions and Dayo Odeyingbo. Like, I agree with you. You still need to go out and make an addition on the line at that position. Or if Mason Graham is there, you still need to make that, even if you have Andrew Billings, Javon Dexter, Grady Jarrett. But I do think that there's going to be more production than people expect out of Dayo Odeyingbo.
There very well could be. I'll also add this on James Pierce because I'm just looking, and this is box score. I haven't watched the games, but just on the elusive quarterback thing, he didn't play LSU in the 2 years ago in the Jaden Daniels season. He did play Bama. He did get home on Jalen Milroe. So I'll have to watch and see. But that does mean something.
Yeah. I feel like the Milroe one was an end of game sack too.
It could have been. Like I said, I'm looking at a box score. I don't remember that game specifically off the top of my head. Right. I will watch that tape and I'll do my best to let people know. I was looking 2 years ago because I wanted to see if he got a sack on Jaden Daniels. They didn't play LSU. So nothing I can do about it.
It is he kind of the guy, if Mason Graham is not there, that you're locking in on? If the Bears have to make a move at 10 or even at 10?
I don't know if I take him at 10. I think if I'm going the James Pierce route, I'm going to try to trade out of that pick.
15, 16, and somewhere in there.
I'm still pretty honed in on Mason Graham.
How's the first circle going?
Well, I'll tell you something. Trying to read the tea leaves for the NFL draft is
it's a weird year.
Good luck. Best of luck to you. But from what I'm seeing now, I think it's getting a little more likely. And the biggest reason is apparently Jackson Dart has people falling over themselves. PFF had Jackson Dart going number 3 overall. There's a lot of stuff about the Jets potentially taking Jackson Dart with the 7th pick. Look, I'm not going to just laugh it off because every year people flip out and get desperate and take quarterbacks very early in the draft. I would be surprised still if it ended up happening. But the more quarterbacks that get pushed into the top 10, the better the odds Mason Graham's available at 10.
Well, we asked Jordan Reed Thursday when we had Courtney on. I asked him, who's the guy that throws this draft off? Who's the guy who moves up in the draft and you're like, oh, wow, I can't believe he's up there. That's going to change how the outlook of this draft goes when it gets down to 10 to the Bears. And he threw Jihad Campbell my way. He said he thinks Jihad Campbell could be somebody who good player, absolutely. I think he'd be at worst. I think maybe if he doesn't get picked early, he's a late first round, early second round pick. Those are players that are supposed to be starters and should turn into stars at some point in the NFL. So still a really good player, but if he makes it into the top 10, I would be sitting there just welcoming in the Mason Graham love. And the one fear that I do have is with where the Bears are they the ones that throw things off by taking Jihad Campbell at 10?
If they take a linebacker, I'll be pissed. You've got too much money invested already in that position. I would rather bank on Jermaine Edmonds having a bounce back year than picking Jihad Campbell. Jihad Campbell, elite football name.
Yeah.
If I get a guy named Jihad as a linebacker, I feel really good. Like, I think he's going to be a good player. Yeah. I just don't need a linebacker if I'm the Bears. But if you can get Jihad Campbell in the top 10, then we're cooking with gas about getting Mason Graham at 10.
Yeah.
Like, the more talent that gets pushed up the board, the better off the Bears are in that realm.
100%.
And I'll tell you another thing, too. The Patriots, I'm starting to wonder if panic hits, that they're striking out on all these receivers, and they just go the Tet McMillan route, and you push Travis Hunter one spot lower, or you push Shedeur Sanders one spot lower, and you get teams entertaining the idea of, well, can't miss on this guy. It just... There's a lot of stuff that feels like it's conspiring to get Mason Graham a little deeper in the top 10.
It's going to be so
power prayer, people.
I think free agency went so sideways for a lot of teams. Now, I still think the Patriots had a good free agency, but I did think that they were going to get one of the wide receivers that they were looking for, and it just was swing and a miss, swing and a miss, swing and a miss. What will be interesting to me is, can they afford and will they realistically, right, with the new coaching staff that's there, will they let a Will Campbell get past them? That's the name to me that screams out, that guy's got to be a Patriot.
It feels that way, especially with Vrabel is seemingly calling the shots. He's a build-it-up front guy. I just wonder, there's going to be a rift. There's always a rift. Vrabel and front office guys historically don't work too well together. And could Elliott Wolf just like, we need a playmaker for Drake May. We need to get somebody he can throw the ball to and go rogue and get Tet McMillan. 100% that could happen.
Which one of the wide receivers did they end up with? Was it D-Hop?
No, they haven't got anybody. D-Hop went to the Ravens.
I thought the Patriots ended
Cooper
up
Kupp went to the Seahawks. Think about this.
No, did they
Think about this. Cooper Kupp went to the Seahawks. The Patriots couldn't even get the white. They have specialized.
From Seattle? Isn't he from Seattle?
Yeah, of course. I'm being facetious.
Clearly, yeah.
But they have specialized in white receivers.
Yeah.
That's Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman. It's Wes Welker. And they couldn't even get Cooper Kupp.
They couldn't get the white.
Now they're waiting on Stephon Diggs. That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, that's not a move I think you want to see either. But yeah, man, listen, it's gonna be interesting. Free agency, I think, was such an interesting thing. Of course, we focus in on the Bears here to start things off, and hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. But what's your big overreaction from free agency?
I think the Lions haven't done enough. I'll keep in the NFC North. I don't think the Lions have gotten better, and I think that's a mistake because, look, man, if Rodgers does end up in Minnesota, I don't think people are talking about this right. And initially, I was like, "Oh, Rodgers is washed anyway. What's that going to do for him?" But then
still a good season last year.
Right? You step back, you look at the numbers again, and you go, "Wow!" And you start thinking about it, and you go, "You're going to get a guy with that pedigree." Who just threw for 3,900 yards and 28 touchdowns on a terrible team, and you're going to put him indoors behind that offensive line with that running game, with Justin Jefferson, with Jordan Addison, and with Kevin O'Connell calling the shots. Oh, and they have TJ Hawkinson. Dude, that's scary.
The prophecy.
And To me, it would make the NFC North one of the great divisions ever in the history of football.
Yeah.
If you've got Rodgers with Minnesota, you've got Green Bay, they were a playoff team. You've got the Lions, who I don't think have gotten better, but I also don't think have gotten worse. Then you've gotten the Bears, who are at least focused on fixing the things that weren't right. This could be an all-time good division. And I think the Lions are making a mistake by not going all in. You've got their GM coming out and saying, we can't afford a premium edge rusher. What are you, high? This is the time to do it. That Goff money is going to kick in.
Yeah.
You got to beat that.
I push back on they didn't get worse. That's the only thing, because we've been a part of an organization where it seems like you've got the quarterback humming perfectly. You got the coordinator with them. The coordinator goes and becomes a NFL head coach, and then you look at Jay Cutler a year later and you go, oh God, he's back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The Adam Gase years is what I'm referring to on the one. And on the defensive side, right? I love how I compare Vic Fangio leaving to Ben Johnson leaving Detroit. Remember, Vic Fangio said that defense is set up so well, anybody can coach it. And then Sean Desai immediately couldn't.
Well, he's terrible.
Exactly. I'm worried that may be what's about to happen here in Detroit. Not to say that the talent is not still there.
Don't say worried. You're hoping.
Oh, well.
You're wish casting a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I'd like it to fall off.
Don't tell me you're
I'd
worried.
like it to fall off.
I know you're not worried.
Well,
you're praying.
I'll say it from this standpoint, right? It's not as much of a worry as it is. I want the NFC North to be the best division. I want the Bears to beat the best. I'll take winning however we can get it.
Sure.
But I want the Bears to beat Detroit while they're still Detroit, while they still look good. And so that Ben Johnson can say, yeah, I built that. And then I built what destroyed that. Like that's, as a Bears fan, that's what I want to see. So I don't want to see him fall off a cliff. But I do fear that may be what's coming Detroit's way, because losing two coordinators is not something you can just go, we'll figure it out.
Well, I'm strictly talking personnel. I mean, I'm as in on it as anyone that, like, they're not going to win 15 games again. They could win 10, 11, 12. I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like they lose Carlton Davis. He goes to New England, but they get DJ Reed. It feels like you immediately filled that hole. My issue with them is I don't think they're improving enough at positions of need. I would have gone all in to get another edge rusher. Yeah. I would have helped out Aiden Hutchinson. And Goff had a bad game, but I'm not ready to just go, Goff's a terrible quarterback.
No,
I don't think that's the case. So I think they're still really good. If I were them, I would have done more.
Yeah.
Can I give you another one?
Go ahead.
What the fuck are the Seahawks doing? I don't know if I haven't really. I was on vacation last week. I've just been like catching up on everything. So I don't know what the actual. It's also Seattle, and they don't steal a lot of time on First Take or those kinds of shows. I don't get it. You're taking Sam Darnold, who had a great year with Minnesota, but you're taking him from indoors to outdoors. You're putting him behind a morbid offensive line. You moved on from DK Metcalf. Forget the idea that you don't have as good of pass catchers for him. Now, JSN is fantastic, but Cooper Kupp at this age, he was drawing dead at the end of the year for the Rams. I don't think you're buying back what he was in his prime, where he had 1 year doing video game numbers and the rest is just kind of
Yeah.
That you're buying back the video game Cooper Kupp. And you're doing it with a quarterback who holds the ball too long outdoors in a weather city that's not great behind a terrible offensive line. I don't get it. I think it could be disaster.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, and I hope that it doesn't work out this way for Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold is about to go from being the princess of the ball to the pumpkin.
Well, I'm going to be frank. I don't care how it works out for him. He's getting $50 million a year. He's okay.
Well, I'd like him to have a solid career. I like the bounce back story.
He's doing all right. I don't, if I'm the Seahawks, I don't know why I did any of this. I would have rather run it back with Geno Smith if the alternative was Sam Darnold.
Yeah. Yeah. The Seahawks are a weird one to me. I'll give you one bigger than them, because if this is actually going to get done, if the Bengals don't have the greatest defensive draft of all time this year, they are going to absolutely waste Joe Burrow's career. I get that you just re-signed two of his top big receivers, or that is coming, right? The contract rumors are out there. Seems like they're in a good place here with Trey Hendrickson.
Sure.
it's about to be them four playing football.
Oh, yeah.
It's literally about to be those four guys. And EO's going to be at the other wide receiver spot.
Seriously.
Shea, you're on the line.
I'm tight end.
playing running back. Like
Even further to your point, I keep reading about the Bengals and how they've got all these players locked up, and people keep sliding in there. Orlando Brown at left tackle. And I'm like, Orlando Brown has been terrible.
Yeah.
They would take that money back in a second if they could.
No.
They want to take the kid they drafted at right tackle and move him over there. Then what do you do at right tackle? They are the biggest. Look, I think they could be really good because they have Joe Burrow and because they have the weapons.
They will be in every single game.
Joe Burrow doesn't take sacks. He's outstanding. He's so accurate. They can make this work. But I also think they're a huge warning for other teams like the Bears. Do not build it this way.
Yes.
Because if your quarterback gets hurt, you're dead. If your quarterback gets banged up, you're dead. If anybody on your offensive line gets banged up, you're dead. And you're going to have to survive winning games 38-35 in the NFL. Best of luck to you.
We are going to talk about Joe Burrow. Dare I say, and I said this after he went the day after he went to the Super Bowl, Joe Burrow might be Dan Marino. We're going to talk about him as one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers
just never had a chance. Well, I think more than Phillip Rivers, right? Because Phillip Rivers never got to the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow gets there. He looks phenomenal in the game. He continues to be great. We can all sit here and go, it's not his fault.
Yeah,
it's everyone else. What's that meme of the one kid? Not the meme, but it's the video of the kid. He's like, you guys did everything right. It was the coaches. Like, that's us with Joe Burrow right now.
And I think that's the thing. Like, Joe Burrow and Josh Allen are both on that trajectory, both of them. And we'll see what happens. Like, Josh Allen's going to eat a massive amount of the salary cap in Buffalo now. He's on that Dan Marino kind of run where we can all look at it and go, he ain't the problem. You just got to figure the rest of this. You got to figure out the defensive side of the ball. It's the same thing in Cincy. And I think they're both a level up from like a Justin Herbert because neither of them have had the egg lays in the playoffs that Herbert has. Yeah. But you're right. They could totally, both guys, be on that Dan Marino career arc.
It's scary to see, man. I feel bad for Burrow. I do feel bad for. That's a real feel bad because it's just like, and it's almost why I give Ryan Poles credit for this offseason. Me and you have both come on here, and we've killed Ryan Poles for what he put Caleb Williams through last season. I've been killing Ryan Poles over the last couple of years for what he's put quarterbacks through. I've been killing the Bears for 20 years on what they put quarterbacks through. But when you get it, I got to give you credit. And Ryan Poles got it. Whether this offensive line is stellar or not this season, you took swings and you invested heavily.
Yeah.
And you didn't invest in just dudes. To me, when I look at Joe Thuney, you invested in a guy who's going to be a leader, who's a 4-time Super Bowl champion, who's been 6 times to the Super Bowl. And if anybody mouths off, he's got a handful of rings that he can backhand them with. Love it. You went out and got the best center in the free agency that was available for you. Love it. On the right side, Jonah Jackson, I got some question marks with, but the one thing that I am excited about, as long as he's healthy, it is what we begged for Darnell Wright and Tevin Jenkins to be on the right side. You are going to have a steamroller running right. Like, I like the moves, and as much as I can cook you for what you've done to this point, building it backwards and getting all the – when you get it right, I'll give you credit. Yeah. And he's gotten it right this offseason.
The best thing I can say about it is he understood the assignment. Whether it works out is a different deal. Look, my whole position on this comes from I'm not hanging the offseason banner again. I refuse.
We might not have won it this year, though. Minnesota's made some moves.
Yeah,
we might not have won it.
I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody that they shouldn't be excited or they shouldn't be hyped up or they shouldn't feel like the Bears are in a really good spot. Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
If you love the offseason, feel good, do the hype thing, talk, do what you got to do. I'm not doing it. Because I'm at a point with this front office, I got to see it to believe it.
100%.
And I can feel good about the things they're doing. I can enjoy the process. But until it pays off in wins, I have a hard time caring.
But it's
Dalman is the one I pounded the table for, right? I was so glad that they got him. He also has flaws. Got to snap the ball better. Can't be fumbling the ball as a center. That can't happen.
Yeah.
Stuff has to improve with everybody that they got, or even stuff can't decline. I can't get the corpse of Grady Jarrett. I can't get end of career Joe Thuney. I need these guys to be productive because you're paying for them to be productive.
Yeah.
You're not paying for declining players. You're paying them at top of the market value. So it has to work at top of the market production. And that's where everybody can do the hype thing. I'm just not joining that party. I will wait and see.
I think that's where the coaching staff comes in, though. And I think we're also naturally ingrained to feel like things are going to fail here. Like everything you just said, right? Joe Tooney coming in, why would there be a decline? There's nothing that is said in his career he should decline. Sometimes it just happens.
Yep.
Usually it happens when the Bears get somebody, right? Like, and why would Drew Dahlman all of a sudden fall off of a cliff when he was the best center that was available this offseason for you to go out there and get? Sometimes that happens. But I think the difference now is that I feel like you went out and got the coaches that are going to get the most out of players that we don't expect to make plays, and that's going to make it easier. And listen, sometimes you got to paint over some of the mistakes, right? The things you bring up where, maybe Drew Dahlman, as far as snapping the football, he had his mistakes there. Are you dominant in the run on a consistent basis? Are you killing the guy in front of you? Is DeAndre Swift all of a sudden a good player again? That's going to make it a heck of a lot easier for you to get the football to Caleb Williams. Well, we'll see where that ends up.
I'm pretty confident. No.
Yeah, I'm not a big Swiftie.
We'll see what happens. Look, the one thing I like, and I think it's underrated and it's undersung, I'm in on the Book of Zacchaeus. I like Olamide Zacchaeus quite a bit as a third receiver option, and it's the one that's
signing. It was a good signing.
But the thing for me isn't even how good of a player is, and he is. Like, if you watch the tape, if you've seen him play, the Book of Zacchaeus, thou shalt blocketh from the receiver position,
and then get this rocketh.
Yeah, thou shalt getteth first downs. Like, that's what he does. He's a sure-handed catcher. He's a little smaller frame, but he's a first down machine. More than half of his catches last year went for first downs.
Yeah.
That's been the story on him for his entire career. He's a very good player, but it also sets a hierarchy where you will not have the issue I thought they had last year, which was, okay, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen. It's great on paper. Here's the problem. They all need 110 targets plus to be as productive as you need them to be, and you don't have 330 targets to hand out. So with Zacchaeus in play, I have a 120 target guy here, a 90 target guy here, and a 50 target guy here.
Yep.
And maybe Cole Kmet doesn't wash out of the offense.
Yeah, there's a hope. I mean, and I agree with you, though. I love the signing from that standpoint. I also think it shows a theme. Like, I don't know if people have been watching what the Bears are doing, but we're running the football. More than likely, you're getting a running back within the first 3 picks. I don't know if it's going to be top 10. I'm still not in on Genty there, but you're getting a running back. The Bears are going to be running the football. They realize how much easier the quarterback's life is made when he's running the football. And it's so obvious when you see what Ben Johnson did in Detroit that he just looked at how Jared Goff was good when he was in LA and when he was bad. Jared Goff's worst games, Todd Gurley was absolutely dog water. He got completely shut down. I know you're throwing. That's the worst time for you. What's he do? He goes out. He gets Jahmyr Gibbs. He gets the David Montgomery. He adds a running game that is dang near impossible to stop. Those are the things that you want to see, and I think that's going to be something that accentuates Caleb's game here as well, where it's just like, look how deadly he was last season, the few games that DeAndre Swift actually did pop.
I think the best thing you can say about Ben Johnson, and it's concise, it's to the point, but I think it distills everything about him. And I know we've talked it to death. Sean McVay couldn't figure out Jared Goff to the extent he traded Jared Goff.
Yeah.
And Ben Johnson made him an MVP finalist.
Yeah.
Sean McVay couldn't figure him out, and he became an MVP finalist.
Yeah.
That's the guy running the offense. I'm happy with that.
I'm happy with everything about when he looked at me and gave me that it's gonna be fun, and the villain smile after. I was like, oh, this is not going to be fun for them.
No,
this is going to be incredibly terrible for them to start the season. I'm so excited. We're going to have order and discourse.
I'm not buying into all the press conference stuff because it's so easy to win pressers right now. But I will say, I like that there's, I'll say viciousness to Ben Johnson. And I think people were a little he's an introvert and all that stuff was going around. He doesn't have the energy to be a leader. He strikes me as a psychopath, and I need a psychopath.
Here's the thing. We were having this conversation the other day, right? There are guys who are crazy, and then there are guys who are psychopaths in the NFL, right? And I think we mentioned, I forget which Bears coach we said, but when you talk to him, it's kind of like, this guy's nuts.
It was Harbaugh, right?
Was it Harbaugh?
Yeah.
No, Harbaugh we were talking about as a psychopath. We were talking about, no, it was Wani.
Yes,
It was Wani. We were saying Wani. When
sorry.
you talk to Wani, you go,
Screw loose.
he's got a screw loose. He only knows football. And like when you try to deviate from that, like
That
it's
was
completely different.
Eberflus, and this, I'm not saying this is a shot. I'm not being disrespectful. Eberflus has a screw loose in
Yeah.
the sense that it's all ball.
Yeah.
His brain rather runs on nothing but football. And Ben Johnson seems to have that, like, I want to rip your heart out of your
And that's
chest.
Gruden.
Yeah.
And
Like-
that's Gruden.
Well, we're in March, so I'm bracket brain right now. I'm
Yeah.
that guy that's everything's March Madness.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I like my team so much is because we have a Trey Holloman who is a fucking psychopath.
Yes.
He wants nothing more than to watch you bleed out at midcourt. That's the kind of guy that you have to have if you're going to be a really good team.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that having that guy will make you a really good team. Maybe it's dumb meathead brain too, but I feel better when I have that guy.
Well, you know he's willing to do the thing that somebody else is. Like the guys with a screw loose, like I keep saying this. Eberflus is a good DC. He's supposed to be in the NFL. He's going to do fine with Micah Parsons and his defense in Dallas. He's going to be fine. He doesn't have that extra, I want to see you cry to make sure that we get this.
Yeah.
That I think that Ben Johnson does have. That coaches like that I know, like Andy Reid has that. When they talk about Andy Reid's practices and training camp, they're like, Andy Reid's trying to literally take you to an inch of like right before the NFLPA has to get involved to make sure that he's ready for the game. It feels like Ben Johnson's that kind of coach when you hear how he's described from Detroit players.
I think Eberflus was a great coach in terms of, I want to beat you physically. I want to get the best X's and O's.
Yes.
I want to have the best scheme. I want to have the best personnel to line up and maul you and beat you and win physically. I think the extra mile guy, that's true in all sports for me, wants to beat you physically and wants to beat you mentally.
Yes. Yes.
They want to leave you beaten and rattled.
That's where you can't figure it out. Those are the guys that I think win. Like I think about in the NBA. That's right. Spo is one of those coaches that I always go to as one of the great coaches. Spo left coaches confused with how they lost games on the other side. He still does. Like that now, not recently. The Heat have been horrible, but like LeBron is out, Dwayne Wade's out, Chris Bosh is out. The Heat win by 30.
Yeah.
What just happened?
Well, it's,
How did we were supposed to roll them? Like those are the coaches that I look for on our teams. And I think we've had just about every other type, but there's only certain ones that you look back at and it's like Phil was like that. Ditka was like that. I look at Thibodeau kind of like that, but it was more of the physical than it was the mental. He literally just wanted to run through your face.
yeah, and it's part of it's just like, can you get regular role players to be dogs? And Spo is specialized in that.
Yeah.
They've beaten the Celtics in the playoffs a few times where they had role players just go crazy because they had that dog to them.
Yeah.
And it's not something you can really quantify, but it felt like that was what the Bears were lacking with Eberflus. There wasn't that mentality of we're going to rip your heart out. And I don't think they'll lack that with Ben Johnson.
No. And my favorite part is, I think it was in I want to say it was in his Barstool interview with Big Cat. And he was like, I didn't stop scoring until Dan said, okay, stop. Like, that's the mindset. Like, how many years have we been talking about good enough is good enough? Bears are up 21 going into the half. They're going to kick 3 field goals to finish a game and lose by 10.
Yeah, it was play not to lose a lot.
Yeah.
And I think Michael Jordan gets lionized in this town. And I'm not making the comparison that anybody on the Bears or Ben Johnson or whoever is Michael Jordan. But whenever Michael Jordan was on the floor, he didn't want to just beat you. He wanted to make you hate the game of basketball. He wanted to make you think that your professional decision was a mistake,
Yeah.
that you should have been selling insurance, that you never should have picked up that round ball and bounced it off a floor. He wanted to make you think you should have been picking up a phone.
Yeah.
Like, that is the level of dog that I need in the NFL. And my hope is that the Bears have that, that they have somebody who will instill that culture, that every time you take the field, you make the guy across from you feel like it was a mistake to play football.
If you want to hear just how accurate that statement was, go listen to Vernon Maxwell talk about playing against Michael Jordan and why he was like, I'm gonna just have to punch him. Like, that's all I got left. Like, you can't keep doing this to me. It's disrespectful. I have to fight you. I love it. Let's stop frothing at the mouth over Ben Johnson. Let's get up out of here, my guy. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. For Shea Norling, it's the non-dog shooter, Pat the designer here. Appreciate you guys for showing love.
We're good.
As always, we're good. PETA, don't call. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bear down. One love. Peace.